So, all right, we're talking about being unique, we're talking about being the same, and I'm talking to probably a group of people that are quite different. You're all different. It's great. It's great. I always decided that if I got married, if I had a wedding, I would have the most interestingly fun, diverse wedding ever on the planet, just because of the people I know and the people I love. I think this past couple of years, this idea of like, a right way and a wrong way, what's acceptable, culturally accurate, in fact, helpful, woke, versus other things that are maybe people think are not so great and are more traditional. So how do you like make sense of all this? Because I love judging people, let me be clear. And I understand that there are things that go through my mind that are quite harmful. But let me also make another thing clear. There are things that go through my mind that are quite harmful to me. Forget even about you. And I got to work on me first. So, how do I reconcile all this stuff? I've got a bunch of opinions, I've got a bunch of life experience, I got a bunch of relationships that are sort of like traveling in between my opinions and experience. And I think to myself, all right, like at some point in time, my experience or my opinions have to catch up to my experience because my experience is more important. And my experience always trumps anything that I believe in my head, especially the shit that I believe that's completely unsubstantiated, like the kind of stuff that I see on media. Okay. So, how do I do that? Like, how do I do that when I'm so entrenched in my uniqueness? I'm so entrenched and guarded about the things that I think that I know are right and true. Like, right? How do I come into being with you and accept you when you say stuff that I just go, the fuck are you thinking? And yeah, like I gotta stop and think to myself, what am I thinking? Or when in my life, have people thought that about me? And it's probably in my case, when I made a really bad decision around a man, which I like to do frequently, by the way, I'll admit to that. And, I would just make really impulsive, not very pragmatic, not well thought out decisions that would really leave me with consequences that I didn't like. And so when we're talking about logic and feelings and what we see and what we don't see, what's believable versus unbelievable, what's my opinion and what's my experience, for me, everything like funnels down into this place. This place where I get to sort of like learn how to reason better. I get to open my mind and examine the things I believe and see where they are correct and incorrect. And if I find that I'm firmly convinced that something's correct, but it seems like a harmful opinion, I get to like, walk into that slowly and examine where that thinking comes from and how attached I am to it and whether or not I can open my mind up just a little bit to let go and meet someone else. This information funnels into my heart as I say to myself, everything comes back to love. I don't have to like you, but for me, especially as a New Yorker, love and respect go hand in hand. I give you the same time I want for myself. I allow you the same opinions that I have for myself. I give you space to sort your shit out without trying to control you. Because if I'm trying to push and control at you with my opinions, you might buy it for a little bit, but like I see this happening in a lot of the big hot topics over the past couple of years. People get all emotionally like wrapped up, they start spinning stuff and throwing stuff around, and then it dies down and nobody gives a shit anymore. And these issues are important, and so it's not about like pushing it and raising it all the time. It's about slowly walking through it, for me anyway, so that I continue to address the isms in me, And then the third place that I bring everything that's happening and everything I believe and think into is this place of power in my gut, the place where my mind and my heart have met and then I'm married and living happily ever after. This place for me is a divine spot. It's powerful. It's not wrong because it doesn't seek to find wrong. It doesn't need to see error. It doesn't need to see you as different than me, even though you might look, sound, and talk completely different. Because you're you, and because you and I will never be the same person. It just isn't going to happen. I mean, physiologically speaking, of course, but beyond that, the way that we believe and think and come to know each other is very individualistic, and I myself am proud of that because I understand my individualism is calm and strong and capable, and I also need to be able to move myself into the outer and into social circles and into ideas of the group and what might be beneficial for society. But this over here, this saving people, beneficial for society, never comes before me addressing this space within me, because I am unique and I am special, and I know every one of you are too. All right? So a little bit of stuff around learning how to change your thinking, looking at the world a little more broadly, letting go of some opinions, seeing people as different and still having your opinions, and just ask yourself, what does this mean? And how can I look at us as similar, but not the same? I hope you have a good day.